your meal, Carlos.
Song of General Kim Jong-il.
You're listening to VOK, Voice of Korea News Now.
Kim Jong-un, Chairman of the Workers' Party of Korea and Chairman of the State Affairs Commission and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, inspected the Changmin Island Defense Detachment in the western sector of the front. He was accompanied by Army General Park Dong-chun, Chief of the General Staff of the Korean People's Army, and senior officials of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea. Guided by commanding officers, Kim Jong-un looked around the area of the historic site. Looking at the monument erected to tell forever the immortal exploits of the great Kim Jong-il, who had given field guidance to the island 45 years ago, he stressed the need to more firmly consolidate the invincible might of the arms and resolutely defend and honor the socialist country as desired by Kim Jong-il. He looked around the headquarters of the defense detachment and different places of the island post to learn in detail about the living conditions of the soldiers and combat preparedness of the defense detachment. Going round the company barracks, he showed paternal love for the soldiers. In the education room, he said with great pleasure, "Now the soldiers are reading and studying the newspapers of the party and army every day, as the data transfer system has been established at all units and sub-units, including the island defense units and frontline units. A big problem has been solved in the political and ideological education. Now it is possible to give the soldiers political, ideological, and mental peplum every day." Kim Jong-un was greatly satisfied to see a lot of supplies in the bin and subsidiary food storehouses and kitchens. He looked around the greenhouse built in the defense detachment, acquainted himself with the vegetable production, and gave a task to encourage the greenhouse farming. He kindly said it would be good to plant many fruit trees of different kinds in the defense detachment and provide the soldiers with a lot of fruits according to seasons. He also familiarized himself with the situation of the school and kindergarten of the Allied Defense Detachment with a deep interest in the education of the children of officers. Looking round the artillery emplacement of the coast battery of the Allied Defense Detachment, he met soldiers on their front guard duty. He mounted the observation post, heard a report on the deployment of the subunits of the Allied Defense Detachment and their combat missions, and gave the Chief of the General Staff tasks on reinforcement of fighting efficiency of the detachment and combat duty to be changed. He set a target for the second cannon of the coast battery on duty and ordered to fire at it. The soldiers of the coast battery fully displayed the marksmanship they had trained at ordinary times, giving great pleasure to him. He said the units and subunits at all levels of the People's Army should establish a well-organized system of technically maintaining and managing the arms and equipment with responsibility, and regularly examining and taking measures for their constant readiness, and fully prepare themselves to carry out combat tasks at any moment. Kim Jong-un gave a pair of binoculars, automatic rifle, and machine gun to the Allied Defense Detachment as souvenirs, expressing deep trust in and great expectation for it, and had a photo taken with the service persons and their families. Kim Jong-un, Chairman of the Workers' Party of Korea and Chairman of the State Affairs Commission and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, inspected the Women's Company under Unit 5492 of the Korean People's Army. He was accompanied by Army General Park Song-cheon, Chief of the General Staff of the Korean People's Army, and senior officials of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea. He expressed great satisfaction to see the soldiers of the company discharging their front guard duty with a high vigilance, though he dropped in on them without notice and appreciated their efforts. Seeing that he got well acquainted with the commander of the women's company on the road of training, and that he remembered her as she had made an impressive speech at the 5th meeting of company commanders and political instructors, he kindly asked her about her health and family life. Guided by the company commander and political instructor, he looked round the monument to the field guidance of the great Kim Jong-il. Going round different places of the company, Kim Jong-un acquainted himself in detail with the military service of the women soldiers. In the education room, he learned about the use of education means and means of cultural recreation, and was pleased to see the women soldiers not knowing any inconvenience in the cozy and fine barracks, mess hall, and wash-cum bath house. Seeing that the company is a model in all aspects of barracks keeping, livelihood including stock breeding, fishery, and sideline farming, and combat readiness, he highly estimated the proud achievements made by the women soldiers in the past through the leadership of the party. He enjoyed the performance of the art circle and sports games of the company, raising the militant morale of the women soldiers. He told the company commander and political instructor that they can continuously defend and glorify the honor of Crackershot's company given by the party only when they train harder and harder, and instructed them to keep strengthening theirs as the company of accurate gunners hitting any target. Expressing the firm belief that all the women soldiers of the company would become women revolutionaries and true daughters of the party, thoroughly armed with its revolutionary spirit, Kim Jong-un gave them a pair of binoculars and automatic rifle as souvenirs and posed for a photograph with them.
Foreign political party leaders speak highly of the respected Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un. The national chairman of the People's Progressive Party of Nigeria, the chairman of the Finnish Communist League, the permanent secretary of the People's Party for Reconstruction and Democracy of the Democratic Congo, and the political and international secretary of the Brazilian Communist Party said in their congratulatory messages and letters that the Democratic People's Republic of Korea firmly defended socialism despite the trials and difficulties caused by the extreme suffocation movements of the hostile forces under the guidance of the great leaders Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, and has now turned into a powerful country no force dares to challenge it. It proves the truth that even a country with a small territory can become powerful when its leader is great, they noted and continued. The DPRK has possessed powerful defense capabilities and achieved successes in the struggle to provide the people with better living conditions under the leadership of Kim Jong-un. Under his leadership, the Korean people will want only victory in all fields of socialist construction in the future too. Work is pushed forward in the DPRK to wrap up the second stage project for remodeling Samjeon County and make preparations for its third stage project. Ongoing now are such works as completing exterior decoration of dwelling houses, bicycle way, and electric lighting decoration in the county township, and the trial operation for supplying water to industrial and public buildings. The installation of temporary buildings for production and living is in progress at surrounding areas and farms as part of preparations for the third stage project. Each construction unit has conducted the work for producing blocks, stairboards, and other necessary materials by itself. A vigorous campaign was launched in the field of industrial art to create famous designs this year. Creators, teachers, and students of different units, including the Korean Industrial Art Studio, the Pyongyang City Industrial Art Studio, the Pyongyang University of Finance, the Pyongyang University of Publication and Printing, and the Pyongyang Handoksu University of Light Industry, have produced tens of thousands of industrial art designs of marks, trademarks, and heavy machines. Active efforts are made to create a larger number of unique industrial art designs. Korea introduces new hydrometeorological and oceanographic devices. Tens of kinds of latest hydrometeorological and oceanographic devices have been installed in observatories this year. The ultrasonic level gauge installed in different units, including the Hydrological Observatory on the Daedong River, plays a big role in ensuring reliability and promptness of water management in rivers in recent years. The 2018 to 2019 DPRK Women's Premier Football League came to a close. The April 2015 took the first place in the league matches. Lee Un-sim and Lee Hak of the April 2015 was elected as the best player and best scorer, and Lee Jin-sim of the Wolmida team as the best goalkeeper of the league matches. Lee Un-sim had won the Adidas Gold Boot at the 2012 FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. A shooting and archery contest of the disabled and amateurs took place at the Meari Shooting Gallery in Pyongyang on the 17th and the 24th. The contest was divided into the 50-meter rifle shooting and 15-meter archery of the disabled, and men's 25-meter pistol shooting and 20-meter archery, and women's 50-meter rifle shooting and 15-meter archery of amateurs of 17 years and over. Cups, medals, and diplomas were awarded to the disabled persons and amateurs who proved successful in the contest. According to the South Korean online newspaper Tsazi-Sibo on the 21st, civic and public organizations made public the stand of the people, resulting in the U.S. demand for an increase in the share of defense costs. The Confederation of Trade Unions said in its statement that the United States is arrogantly and openly pressurizing South Korea to pay $5 billion as the share of defense costs. But the representatives of the ruling and opposition parties are talking about a fair increase in the share, starting the face of the United States. The Solidarity for Progress said in a statement that clear is the stand of the people against the increase in the share of defense costs, and announced that if the authorities do not take proper measures, the anger will go to the National Assembly, survived the U.S. pressure. And that's the end of the news, read by Kim Shonok and Lee Hyang-sim. This is Voice of Korea.
This time, we present the immortal masterpiece, O Korea, I Will Add Glory to Thee, written by the great leader Kim Jong-il in chapter 49 or 1960.
Chomsky Quartet, Ode to Comrade Kim Jong-il. show your female duet to the end of the earth.
Practical scientific research findings. In recent years, plant activity reinforcing agent Dragon 410 was developed in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, making a great contribution to the agricultural production. It was developed by Section Chief Gun-So Ko and researcher Han Dong-suk of the Ragon Ryeo-un Technology Exchange Company. They are married couple. For the development of Ragon 410, they were awarded the Inventor Medals and Diplomas of the World Intellectual Property Organization this year. The plant activity reinforcing agent enables the crops to absorb sufficient nutriment essential for growth even under unfavorable climatic conditions and environment. It also strengthens root activity and promotes photosynthesis for the crops to grow healthily. For this action, it guarantees a rich harvest. Many farms across the country which introduced the agent recorded sustainable growth in the grain production every year, irrespective of nature and climatic conditions. The yields of paddy, maize, and other grain crops increased more than 20 to 30%, and those of vegetables, fruit trees, and industrial and feed crops over 1.5 to 2 times. The tidal-land turned rice fields, whose yields had decreased due to salinity, witnessed over 4 times of output as against before. Gun-So Ko and Han Dong-suk began to research into the plant activity reinforcing agent more than 10 years ago. At that time, they happened to learn that the microelement plays an important role in increasing the yields of crops. The use of the microelement could make a great progress in the agricultural production. What is important was to separate necessary microelement from compounds existing in nature and make it into a form of salt which can be absorbed by crops. They worked day and night and finally invented a technology to make it by a new method suitable to domestic conditions and establish the production process. And they succeeded in developing more than 10 growth promoters suiting characteristics of various plants. The conjugal scientists have set another high target and are working hard to hit it. So far, you've been listening to an article titled Practical Scientific Research Findings. This is Voice of Korea.
We now bring you the song Fly High, Our Party Flag. The flag is flying generation after generation in the clear sky with the shining sun and star. Even if we die, we will never lay down the party flag of Juche. Fly high, our party flag, shine forever on the peak of socialism. We now bring you the light music. We are successors to revolution. We now bring you female sextet, youth forward following the party. is a female chorus. We are Malima Riders.
Dear listeners, with this we conclude the English language service of Voice of Korea from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Voice of Korea presents its English language service for Europe between 15 and 16 hours UTC, between 18 and 19 hours UTC, between 21 and 22 hours UTC, and between 13 and 14 hours UTC on 7,570 kHz and 12,015 kHz. For North America, between 15 and 16 hours UTC and between 13 and 14 hours UTC on 9,435 kHz and 11,710 kHz. And for Northeast Asia, between 4 and 5 hours UTC and between 6 and 7 hours UTC on 7,220 kHz, 9,445 kHz, and 9,730 kHz. Goodbye, this is Pyongyang.